Hi, I'm Linda Quinlan.
I'm Ann Charles. Keith is off tonight. Welcome to All Things LGBTQ. We have a lot of news for you, but before we share that, we will issue our land acknowledgement. We recognize that we're taping in Montpelier, Vermont, which is unceded indigenous land. It's Monday, April 29th, and we do have a lot of news, and we'll start with Linda. All
righty. I'm going to start with, unfortunately, the United Methodist Church. Delegates approved the restructuring plan that would allow certain churches in certain regions, including the U.S., greater autonomy, deciding matters such as approving same-sex marriages and ordaining active LGBTQ clergy. Delegates to the church's General Conference meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina, approved the measure 586 to 164, sending it to local conferences, the equivalent of a diocese, for ratification. If the measure is approved, U.S. church regions could decide to perform same-sex marriages and ordain LGBTQ individuals, upending decades of official UMC prohibitions. Overseas religions, including those in Africa, the Philippines, and Europe, could refuse to perform them.
Yeah, in May.
So in other words, if you live in a bigoted country or a bigoted area of the United States, you can just say,
forget it.
Not doing it, sorry. So, and I have a movie with a clip, and this is called Challengers. The relationship for me was always between the three of them. Challengers star Josh O'Connor says he's talking about the three-way love affair between his character, Patrick, his best friend, Art, played by Mike Faust, and the woman they both love, Tashi, played by Zendaya, in Luca Guadagnino's new queer film set in flashbacks and a current riveting tennis match. I think I had to see it as we present a relationship that isn't necessarily one we're used to seeing, and that is flawed, says O'Connor, who launched on the radar of queer audience when he played a gay sheep herder in Francis Lee's God's Own Country. So here is the clip. And I don't know where you can see it, it didn't say, but here's the clip.
This Friday, one of the sexiest movies ever made arrives.
Want me to come tuck you in?
Critics are calling Challengers fierce, electrifying, and deliriously enjoyable.
So, how often does this happen? Going after the same girl?
This is Zendaya like you've never seen her before.
Unfortunately, my only skill in life is hitting a ball with a racket.
I want you to be my coach. I want you to be my coach.
Luca Guadagnino's Challengers is nothing short of miraculous.
I'm taking such good care of my little white boys.
It's an utterly magical experience.
Decimate that little bitch.
Zendaya mesmerizes like nothing she's previously done.
You're not a member of my fan club?
It will leave you breathless. Do not miss this movie. Challengers.
Good night.
Rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
That looks interesting.
I know.
I've seen notices for it.
Yeah? Well, okay. So, yeah, it should be different. I'll probably come to the Savoy, maybe.
Maybe.
The world has been treated to a truly astonishing array of queer singers over the past decades, including hardcore rock stars, hip-hop legends, and huge array of performers from various genders. These singers aren't only creating amazing songs, but they are also creating music that is inclusive and breaks boundaries. And since it was or is Lesbian Awareness Month,
Last week was Lesbian Visibility Week.
all right, well, anyway, we're putting them up now. They are Brandy Carlisle, Brandy Clark, Haley Kayoko, Amy Ray of the Indigo Girls, Norma Tienega, Kalina, Leslie Gore, Katie Lang, Melissa Etheridge, Norma Tiega, Renee Rapp, King Princess, and Tegan and Sarah.
Oh,
So, if you're looking for some lesbian hits, well, except for Leslie Gore, which I think she's
She's
passed.
dead, yeah.
But
very sad. She was a lovely person, I heard.
You Don't Own Me.
That's Linda's theme song.
Okay, so the Republican-controlled Georgia legislature ended a season in March without passing any anti-LGBTQ bills. And a groundbreaking transgender minister believes she contributed just a little to that outcome. Reverend Andy Woodworth has been co-pastor of Neighborhood Church at United Methodist, speaking of Methodists, congregation in Atlanta since 2016. This year, on March 11th, she began the first out trans clergy member to address the Georgia House of Representatives during its morning prayer. She had been invited by her state rep, Democratic Sierra Draper. My hunch is that just being there humanized me and humanized my community, Woodworth says. Georgia lawmakers have been considering several pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation, and specifically anti-trans legislation, mostly tacked on to other bills, she notes. The most concerning ones included a trans athlete ban, restrictions on sex education, parental notification on library books children check out, and a ban on puberty blockers for trans minors, a Georgia law being challenged in court. Prohibits other gender-affirming treatment from youth, but the season closed March 28th with not one single one passing.
All right.
So that is good news.
Visibility is so important.
I know. It's hard when you actually have a face or, hard for some people, not hard for others, but...
It goes back to Elaine Noble when she ran in those early days saying, I sit where they can see me when they're saying nasty anti-gay things. I sit where they can see me.
Yeah.
So it's a time-honored political strategy,
And tradition.
I'm glad it seems to be working in this instance.
So in that case, it worked. On the other hand, we have the log cabin Republicans.
Oh.
The Los Angeles chapter posted a meme on its Instagram story that appears... Did you hear about this?
I think it's meme.
Meme, is it?
Yes.
It's not Mimi?
No.
Of course.
Go ahead.
But it celebrates the death of President Joe Biden.
Oh.
The meme is no longer available online, but was captured in a screenshot. It shows the internet personality known as Kombucha Girl reacting negatively to the message Joe Biden to 2024, but positively to no one that says Joe Biden 1942 to 2024.
That's awful.
Wishing for the death of one's political opponents is something that some mega Republican groups welcome. So we should kick them out of the gay community, actually.
Are they gay? Oh, the log cabin. Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
Republicans, yeah. Maybe we should have like a no play for them. Okay, and this one is a gay author has been re-invited to speak at a Pennsylvania middle school less than 2 weeks after he was banned over parts of his lifestyle. Malik Penchokli, known for his roles in 30 Rock and as a voice actor in Phineas and Ferb, was scheduled to speak at Mountain Valley Middle School in Manchester, That's an interesting name, isn't it? About his experience with bullying until the Cumberland Valley School District suddenly canceled the event, citing concerns that the actor's LGBTQ plus advocacy would be too political for the students. Board member Bud Schaefer, who introduced the resolution to cancel the event, justified the decision at the time by citing Pancholi's lifestyle. The board has since reversed their decision after an uproar from the local community. See
Good.
how that works? At their Wednesday night meeting, according to the New York Times, parents and students filled a high school auditorium late yesterday to berate the board members for several hours, slamming what was said were homophobic remarks. The board eventually voted 5-4 to re-allow Pancholi to speak, and Schaffner apologized for his lifestyle comment, claiming that he simply intended to reference the author's political activism and not his sexuality.
Yeah. Well, good. That's good news.
Yeah.
They're backing down.
See, that's two things in which advocacy worked. In 2024, Music City Open, a notable event in Disc Golf Pro Tour, faced a significant disruption when the competition was temporarily suspended due to terrorist threats on Sunday. The threat, which targeted transgender athlete Natalie Ryan, highlights the ongoing tension and hostility within the sports community regarding transgender participation. And here's another good news story. State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta has emerged triumphant in the Democratic primary race for Pennsylvania Auditor General, defeating his opponent, Lehigh County Controller Mark Pinsley.
That's great news.
That's good. And I'll do one more, and then I'll move over to you, Ann. The Philadelphia Inquiry reports that Kenyatta, this is the rest of the story.
Okay.
A representative for North Philadelphia celebrated his victory alongside supporters at the Divine Lorraine Hotel, where he conveyed gratitude to all who backed his campaign, including those who did not. In a moment charged with enthusiasm, Kenyatta, known for his advocacy for working-class communities, emphasized his commitment to improving the lives of Pennsylvanians. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, he said. I want to thank all the people who didn't support my campaign. Sometimes we forget what we did all this for. It was to make life better for working people who've given up on the political process. So,
Good. He ran against Fetterman for the nomination for Senate.
For Senate,
and Fetterman won.
yeah. Okay, we'll move over to you, Ann, for a little bit, and then we'll come back.
Okay. I'd like to start with a statement from us at the show, let me just begin. This moment is particularly perilous in this time of continuing war in the Middle East. As we mourn the loss of life in Gaza and continue to witness ongoing human rights abuses committed by the Israeli government, we hope for the safe return of the hostages being held by Hamas in another violation of human rights, and call for an immediate ceasefire in the region. Of course, we deplore anti-Semitism in all of its manifestations.
We don't support, you said.
I said deplore.
Oh,
We deplore
okay,
anti-Semitism in all of its manifestations, and believe that opposing Israeli policies presents a moral imperative that we ignore at our peril. As I begin the international coverage on the show today, I want to ask for us to raise our voices and otherwise direct our energy for peace in the Middle East and for an end to the widespread violence around the world.
Thank you, Ann.
But now I'm actually not going to go to international headlines. I'm going to go to the Publishing Triangle Awards. I've taken the prerogative of departing from the international scene just for this first story because I'm very excited by it. I'd like to show you a picture now of some of the award winners at this 36th Annual Publishing Triangle Awards. From the left, and let's keep it up for a minute, we have J.M. Redmond, Leslie Saints, Helen Elaine Lee, Emily Drabinski, Joseph Plaster, Chris Kleindienst, Barbara Jane Brickman, and Emily Zhu. The winners of the 26th Annual Triangle Awards, which honor the year's best LGBTQ fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and transliterature published in 2023, were announced at a celebration held at the New School in New York City on April 17th. I watched the whole thing. It was fabulous. The winners in the 9 competitive categories include the Farrell Grumley Award for LGBTQ plus fiction was awarded to Pomegranate by Helen Elaine Lee, and that looks really good. The Randy Schultz Award for gay nonfiction was awarded to Kids on the Street, Queer, Kinship, and Religion in San Francisco's Tenderloin by Joseph Plaster. The Edmund White Award for for debut fiction went to the And Then He Sang a Lullaby by Ani Coyote Somatochwu, a Grove Atlantic publication. The Judy Grant Award for lesbian nonfiction was awarded to Suffering Sappho, Lesbian Camp in American Popular Culture by Barbara Jane Brickman. And Judy Grant was there and presented the award. It was very moving, and she's going to be an upcoming guest on our show, I'm happy to report. The Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry was awarded to Have You Been Long Enough at Table by Leslie Saints, Tin House Press. The Tom Gunn Award for Gay Poetry went to Trace Evidence by Charf Shanaha. The Leslie Feinberg Award for Trans and Gender Variant Literature was awarded to Girlfriends by Emily Zhu. And I'd like to shout out to the Trans Feminism's issue of Sinister Wisdom that was nominated, and we interviewed some of those people on our show. The Jacqueline Woodson Award for LGBTQ plus young adult and children's literature was awarded to Salma Writes a Book by Danny Ramadan. There's more. In addition to the competitive categories, the organization also honored 4 previously announced honors. The Dorothy Allison was nominated for the 2024 Bill Whitehead Award for Lifetime Achievement, which honors the winner's lifetime work and commitment to fostering queer cultures. And she gave a really good speech.
I remember how enthralled I was by her first book.
When she hit the scene, it was really a revelation.
It was amazing.
Emily Drabinski, you may have seen her, is a librarian and current president of the American Library Association. She was presented with the 2024 Publishing Triangle Torchbearer Award, which now in its second year is given to organizations or individuals who strive to awaken, encourage, and support a love of reading or stimulate an interest in and appreciation of LGBTQ literature. And she, gave a great speech, was looking very butch. Chris Kleindienst, another person who gave a wonderful talk, she spoke about starting out at Left Bank Books right when she left school and meeting a young woman who was trying to come out as a lesbian and looking for books and eventually committed suicide. And Kleindienst talked about how she wished the bookstore now had been available to this young woman then. But anyway, she owns Left Bank Bookstore in St. Louis, Missouri, and I've been there. It's a great place. She was given the Michelle Carlsberg Leadership Award, which honors the contribution to LGBTQ literature by those who are not primarily writers, such as editors, agents, booksellers, and other institutions, with an emphasis on members of the LGBTQ+ writing community. Hilary Zaid was awarded the Betty Berzon Emerging Writer Award, Publishing Triangle's award for an LGBTQ+ writer. She is the author of Forget I Told You This, a novel and by Zero Street Books in 2023, and Paper is White by Bywater Books in 2018. So this is the Emerging Writer Award. Very exciting.
Very nice.
Kudos to all of them, and the nominees, of course. Now, let's go to North America, where we have interesting news. You may not know too much about the island of Dominica. And to continue the literary motif, Jean Rhys's heroine in The Wide Sargasso Sea
Oh, I love that book.
hailed from Dominica. So Dominica has overturned its ban on same-sex relations. The High Court has overturned this ban on consensual same-sex relations in this Caribbean island nation.
Good.
A gay man living in Dominica brought the case and said that the law violated his constitutional rights, which it did. LGBT activists welcomed the decision, hailing it as a significant milestone in the ongoing struggle for LGBTQ rights in the Caribbean. The anonymous claimant, an openly gay man, stated that the laws condemned him to live in constant fear of criminal sanction for engaging in consensual sexual activity, and further argued that these laws incited hateful and violent conduct toward him and other LGBTQ persons, which he said prevented him from living and expressing himself freely and in dignity. An activist explained, however, that the ruling does not mean that homophobia is going to stop tomorrow in Dominica. Outright International, and I like to spotlight this because they're a wonderful organization. They're Human Rights LGBTQ NGO. They said of this ruling, the repeal of these discriminatory laws is a testament to the tireless efforts, and this underscores Linda's point about activism and its effect. So the repeal is a testament to the tireless efforts of activists, advocates, and allies who have long fought for justice and equality. It is a victory for human rights and a significant milestone in the ongoing struggle for LGBTQ rights in the Caribbean. This statement was made by Outright Executive Director Maria Slodgen, and I've seen her speak a number of times. She's real dynamo, too. Laws criminalizing same-sex sexual activity between people of the same sex in English-speaking Caribbean nations were first imposed by the British under their rule in the 1800s. Maybe we know this. In recent years, a number of Anglophone Caribbean nations have repealed such laws, including Antigua, Barbuda, Barbados, Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Trinidad and Tobago. A case is also pending in St. Lucia. Caribbean nations where same-sex relations are still criminalized include Guyana, Grenada, Jamaica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So let's stay away from those places. My second North American story is of interest, I believe. Unfortunately, this film, well, you can buy it online, but it's available on Amazon Prime, which we don't have.
No.
Still. Looks very interesting, and I'll show you a clip. This is about Frida. The film is called Frida, about Frida Kahlo. A raw and magical journey into the life of our iconic artist Frida Kahlo, told through her words from diaries, letters, essays, and interviews, vividly brought to life with lyrical animation inspired by her unforgettable work. So let's look at a clip from the documentary for Frida.
Me pinto a mí misma porque soy lo que mejor conozco. Pintaré lo que me dé la gana, con mis propios ojos y nada más. El camión que me aplastó me desbarató los huesos. Después del accidente, la emoción clara y precisa que yo guardaba de la Revolución Mexicana fue la base para mi determinación. El amor es la base de toda vida. El noviazgo con Diego comenzó. Me dan ganas de hacer el amor, tomarme un baño y hacer el amor de nuevo. Necesito pintar para vender mis cuadros. Nunca aceptaré dinero de ningún hombre hasta que muera. Así podré ser libre. Nunca pintaba mis sueños. Pintaba mi propia realidad. Muchas vidas no serían suficientes para pintar todo lo que yo quisiera.
I love that. Remember that? Oh, maybe you weren't there, but we went into this bar in Puerto Vallarta, and it was called Frida's, and it was just the walls and everything were covered with photographs of her and her work. It was amazing.
We have a print of her self-portrait
Yes.
in our living room.
We got that in Houston? Austin. Houston.
Houston. We went to see an exhibit of hers in Houston
Yeah.
when we lived in the South. Now, I have some unpleasantness from Asia, beginning with Iraq, which has passed a harsh anti-LGBTQ law. This law has drawn diplomatic backlash from the get-go. It's been criticized. It was quietly passed by the Iraqi parliament over the weekend, and it will impose heavy prison sentences on gay and transgender people. I mean, some people say the cup is half full because it backed off from a kill the gays, but it's pretty bad. The U.S. State Department said in a statement that the law passed Saturday threatens those most at risk in Iraqi society and can be used to hamper free speech and expression, of course. This spokesperson warned that the legislation could drive away foreign investment, and this is important. Although homosexuality is taboo in the largely conservative Iraqi society, and political leaders have periodically launched anti-LGBTQ campaigns, Iraq did not previously have a law that criminalized homosexuality explicitly. The law passed Saturday with little notice as an amendment to the country's existing anti-prostitution law, so it's the same tactic. Tack it on to another bill and slip it through. It imposes a sentence of 10 to 15 years for same-sex relations and a sentence and prison term from 1 to 3 years for people who undergo or perform gender transition surgeries and for the international practice of effeminacy. It also bans any organization that promotes sexual deviancy, imposing a sentence of at least 7 years and a fine of no less than 10 million dinars, which is about $7,600.
What country was it that Martina Navratilova wasn't going to go because of their stand on LGBTQ people? Was it?
I think it's Dubai.
No? Well, maybe.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was just reading about that recently. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
A previous draft of the anti-prostitution law, which was ultimately not passed, would have allowed the death sentence to be imposed for same-sex relations, so they backed away from that. Iraqi officials have defended the law as upholding societal values and portrayed criticism of it as Western interference. A senior researcher with the LGBTQ rights program and Human Rights Watch said the law's passage rubber stamps Iraq's appalling record of rights violations against LGBTQ people and is a serious blow to fundamental human rights, including the rights of freedom of expression and association, privacy, equality, and non-discrimination. A report released by the organization in 2022 accused armed groups in Iraq of abducting, raping, torturing, and killing lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people with impunity, and the Iraqi government of failing to hold perpetrators accountable. A group of Iraqi lawmakers said Sunday that they had launched a campaign to expel U.S. Ambassador Alina Romanovsky, accusing her of interfering in the country's internal affairs after she issued a statement condemning the legislation. So that's my most intense, maybe the worst story of the evening. But I have a bad one from Russia.
Well, we just have time for one more, Ann, then we'll move over to me.
Yeah, and I'll shorten it. They have a poetry competition.
Oh, I read about that.
And they have now banned transgender applicants. The All-Russian Poetry Prize specifies that while competition will accept entries from poets regardless of citizenship, nationality, profession, and place of residence, entries from citizens who have changed their gender will not be considered. So there we go.
What about LGBTQ people?
I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. But it's not explicitly forbidden, perhaps. In the official application, there's a question about whether or not you've changed your gender.
So you can send your poetry from the States to Russia?
I don't know. No, I doubt it. Well, yeah, you can.
It's
You're right.
anywhere,
Any place. All right. Well, send a poem in, Linda.
Yeah.
See what happens.
I'll send my gayest.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the teenage suspects in a Minneapolis mass shooting that left one person dead and 6 others injured are facing 7 felony charges. Dominic James Burris, who turned 18 last week, was only 17 on August 11th when he and 17-year-old Cyril Ernest Boyd allegedly opened fire into the backyard of a local house. And we probably remember that story. Mm-hmm. They now face felony charge of aiding and abetting second-degree intentional murder, as well as 6 counts of felony assault with a firearm. The documents in the case conclude that the 2's crimes were motivated by bias against the victim's sexual orientation and gender identity. Witnesses reportedly overheard the suspects utter derogatory epithets about the sexual orientation of the concert attendees. Witnesses identified the gathering as an LGBTQ plus friendly community, and the victims included people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. Witnesses identified the shooters as 2 males who were not part of the community, but who had come to the concert and interacted with multiple people in the minutes before the shooting. One victim said at the time that the 2 attempted to hit on her and her friend, who were both lesbians, and became agitated when they did not return their interest. The 2 began firing 1 minute later. So. Andrea Dororia dos Passos, 37, a transgender woman who was experiencing homelessness, was found beaten to death Tuesday outside the Miami City Ballet Building in Miami Beach, Florida. The attack on Dos Passos was caught on surveillance video and led to the arrest of Gregory Fitzgerald Gilbert, 53, who was charged with second-degree murder. An employee of the ballet company found Dos Passos lying on the ground about 7 a.m. Tuesday. The worker initially thought she was sleeping, then saw that she was surrounded by blood and called the police. Surveillance video showed a man beating her with a pipe, and police matched the description to Gilbert, who was on probation for charges including aggravated assault with an intent to kill and attempted robbery with a weapon. He had been sentenced to 4 years of probation on the charges just 6 days before the attack on Dos Passos. So, and this is, I'm very excited about this. This is going to be fun, I think. Over 30 years since the cult classic, The Adventures of Priscilla.
Oh, Linda,
Queen
I've got that.
of the Desert. You've got that from Australia?
Yes, but go ahead. I'll add. One of my happier stories.
Well, do you want me to leave it for you?
No. Go ahead.
Director Stephen Elliott confirmed The Guardian that the film is currently in the works, with the original cast all slated to return, including stars Terrence Stamp, Guy Pearce, and Hugo Weaving. Elliott did not reveal plot details about the sequel, only that the plot would take place partially in Australia as well as overseas. The original 1994 film follows a transgender woman, Bernadette Stamp, as she travels with two drag queens, Adam Whitley, Felicia Jolly Goodfellow Weaving, and Tick Mince Del Bra Pierce, across the treacherous Australian outback in a bus named Priscilla. Elliott was ultimately swayed by the attacks on LGBTQ plus rights in the past several years, realizing I had something that needed to be said. People have been screaming for me to do this for 30 years. And suddenly I have the realization that we're all getting old. We're losing people, he told the outlet. And with Trump coming in now, it's all about to erupt again. Somebody said to me, this is the right time to make the film. It is the perfect time to make this film, Elliott said that. While the original film is often regarded as a campy feel-good flick, it also has very powerful message. He said he wants the sequel to stay true to that, keeping it lighthearted while also taking its statements seriously. People think that the original film has a lot of costumes and music and great fun. It's also a dagger in the heart. I'm not going to do this just tits and feathers, he continued. This is not a dire story. It's a pretty extravagant. I'm going to give RuPaul a run for her money. Let me tell you. And here's a picture of them as they are today. So, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has agreed to drop his pursuit of information on transgender patients who have been treated at Seattle Children's Hospital. The agreement comes as part of a settlement announced Monday between Paxton's office and the Washington State Hospital, the Texas Tribune reports. Seattle's Children's Hospital sued the Texas AG's office in December, seeking to block a November 17 subpoena demanding records pertaining to any Texas patients who receive gender-affirming care at the hospital. Paxton believed that Seattle office Children's Hospital was providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors in Texas, where such treatment has been banned for young people since last August. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're going to go to another state and tell them, you know, what they can and can't do. Oh, I heard that, was it Texas, that two women were driving and the one policeman demanded they take a pregnancy test? Did you hear about that? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like unbelievable. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
You know, actually, Linda, that was a campaign ad.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Was it
like
true?
A worst case scenario.
Oh, okay.
No.
So that wasn't something that actually happened yet. Okay. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that his state wouldn't comply with new rules intended to prevent discrimination against LGBTQ people. Students, Florida rejects Joe Biden's attempt to rewrite Title 9? Yeah. He said in a video posted on social media, "We will not comply and we will fight back."
Good.
Now, here's another feel-good story. Alabama's legislature is advising two LGBTQ bills. HB 130 would ban LGBTQ flags in classrooms and expand the state's Don't Say Gay law to include grades 6 through 8. The other bid would jail librarians for giving sexual or gender-oriented material to minors without parental consent. Both bills were approved by the Alabama House of Representatives this week and now head to the state's Republican-led upper legislative channel. Oh. Did you find it?
Find what? Martina Navratilova?
Yeah.
I certainly did. She and Chris Everett have refused to go to the World Tennis Association meeting because it's in Saudi Arabia.
That's what I thought it was Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they were going to be like, you know, what do they call them? Speakers, you know, like, oh, they got a net.
Celebs.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they were going to do like announcing or, you know, being at the game saying, you know, oh, that's Ace. Oh, that's, you know, whatever. Okay, thank you for looking that up.
My great pleasure.
Out Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, this is great news for anybody who travels by plane. And he hasn't done much, and I've been very, like, sort of on him about the fact that he has had this position for quite a long time, and I haven't seen him do much, but this is good. He made major announcements that he will upgrade air travel for Americans. The Biden administration has cracked down on hidden fees for businesses, and the new rules continue that trend. Airlines are now required to disclose extra costs for baggage or canceling trips. But the biggest change involves canceled or severely delayed flights. Buttigieg has implemented sweeping changes to improve passengers' experience and hold airlines accountable, including record-breaking fines for multiple meltdowns by companies that canceled flights for millions of Americans, and the latest upgrade will no doubt be welcomed with open arms. Currently, the Transportation Authority's website assists passengers with getting required compensation for missing luggage, canceled or delayed flights, and other issues. Passengers are now also allowed to demand that the company compensate them before leaving the airport, or at least begin the process. But airlines have skirted the issue by offering customers travel vouchers for another flight in the future. In most cases, the vouchers have an expiration date. The new changes will require the airlines to give passengers an automatic cash refund.
Good.
So that's good, isn't it?
You know, I don't know, Linda, maybe Pete Buttigieg is working behind the scenes.
Well, I don't. You know, it's been a while, and this is really, well, anyway. And, you know, the airlines are a mess.
Oh, it's awful. Air travel is just awful.
You know, and so, and for the last one, now this is an old movie. I don't know if anybody has seen it. I don't think I have, but it's coming back, and it's on Hulu, and you can see it there, and it has the departed Olympia Dukakis is in it, and it's Canadian. So, and so you can watch it on Hulu. It's called Cloudburst, a 2011 Canadian-American comedy drama film written and directed by Tom Fitzgerald and starring Olympia Dukakis and Brenda Fricker. The film is an adaptation of Fitzgerald's 2010 play of the same name, Cloudburst, premiered in the Atlantic Film Festival in Halifax, Nova Scotia on September 16, 2011. It's opened in a limited release in Canada on December 7th. So, here's the clip.
The sun is about 1 inch above the horizon, changing color.
What shapes are the clouds?
There's a donkey carrying 2 nuns and a beagle.
I have reserved a space for Nona in a long-term care facility.
Get out of my house.
You could have burned me!
Get out! You're not taking her anywhere.
Nona is my grandmother. She is going to live where people with training can take care of her.
They're in love, Mom.
I love my grandmother too, and I
They're
get to...
in love.
They're
lesbians, Mall. Hello.
Are you okay? I'm fine. I was just waiting for you to show up. We gotta run. Come on.
Well done, Stella! We'll drive to Canada and we'll get legally married.
Maybe we could work out some sort of trial commitment.
How about 100 years?
6 months.
75 years.
5 years.
31-year trial commitment.
And then we can see other people.
They're looking for us, the police.
You're paranoid.
We should pick up this kid. Adding to our group will confuse anyone looking for 2 old broads. Pull up your pants. You're humping the wrong fire hydrant.
Are you two running from the law?
No.
Awesome.
Just open up the bag, sir. Drugs, these?
Not mine.
Mine.
Your name is Dorothy?
On weekends.
Are you okay?
Like that's the first time a finger's been up there, huh?
I'm fine. Just want to put the whole thing behind me.
The whole thing
I know. Stop. Stop. Stop.
That's good. That's good.
Ain't life sweet when we know what we're doing?
I can't do it. Molly's right. I can't take care of Dottie anymore.
We're not girls anymore, Stella. If I'm going to die in some nursing home somewhere alone, I want to die there as your wife.
Sweet when we're
You know that in a million years, I could never, ever say no to you.
Okay.
I
Looks
love
good.
Olympia Dukakis.
Me too. She was so good.
Yeah.
Wasn't she in like the one that
Moonstruck, wasn't it?
Moonstruck? I love that.
And that
She was so
Armistead Mopan film.
Yeah, yeah.
What was that? Sex in the Scenes from the City.
Maybe. Oh, no, not Sex in the City. It was about San Francisco.
Right.
Right. And didn't she play drag?
I don't.
transgender?
Yes, she did. But
Wasn't
if Keith
Sex in
were
the
here,
City
he
Life
loves
in the
this.
City or
Yeah,
I don't know, but it was good.
yeah. You can look it up if you want.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad Linda did the Priscilla story because this gives me more time for Bluey Under Fire, an Australian cartoon. It's a children's show. Bluey it's the latest object of right-wing outrage for briefly acknowledging that queer kids and families are everywhere. The season 3 finale of this wildly popular cartoon, which, and by the way, as I speak, observe, I have a picture of Bluey that I'd like you to see.
I saw one. It was really cute.
Season 3 finale of this wildly popular cartoon, which aired on April 14th, centered on the show's eponymous blue heeler puppy coming to terms with her family moving to a new house amid a wedding. However, the episode quietly introduced some LGBTQ plus representation as well. Bluey's friend, a chihuahua named Pretzel, opened up about his pet guinea pig running away and casually mentioned having 2 moms. Ooh. My mom's told me he might come back, but he didn't, Pretzel said. That's very sad.
Yeah.
The widely viewed show has been criticized by Australian viewers for lacking diversity. So here's hoping this brief mention of the off-screen mums is just a first step toward more representation. After the episode dropped, the show's many adult fans flocked online to express their excitement over the moment. On IMDb, the episode entitled The Sign scored 9.9 out of a 10 average, based on nearly 1,000 user ratings. This is what I've been waiting for, one TikTok user commented on a video about the scene. As a gay Chihuahua mom, that makes me happy, another person wrote. Unfortunately, even a one-off mention of a cartoon character's two moms was enough to set off conservative trolls. The Daily Wire culture reporter Megan Basham blasted the moment on X, writing, "I'll be honest, sometimes the glee LGBTQ activists take at seeing the destruction of something that was once wholesome, something that championed mothers and fathers and children's need for both, is really demoralizing." Bluey isn't the only children's show that has casually incorporated queer and trans characters in recent years. Millennials and Zoomers, who are Zoomers? I should have looked it up. I'll tell you next time, if you don't know, as I don't. And Zoomers who were raised on Arthur will be happy to know that back in 2019, the PBS show treated us to a teacher, Mr. Ratburn's gay rat wedding. In 2022, queer icon Peppa Pig's titular cartoon featured a lesbian polar bear power couple, and the Disney show Baymax briefly showed a trans guy buying tampons. Last fall, Paw Patrol spin-off Rubble and Crew introduced a non-binary skateboarder. These moments can be small, but in an era when LGBTQ community is being demonized by the right, we'll take all the lesbian Chihuahua asides that Bluey can offer. So now let me go to Europe with a lot of news. I may just have to devolve to headlines in a minute. But let's start with a good story. I'd like to show you a picture of the Minister for Veteran Affairs, Johnny Mercer, and the Chair of Fighting with Pride, Craig Jones, who are the UK movers behind the first LGBTQ plus Veterans Memorial to be created, as Fighting with Pride urges the chair urges the government to pay reparations. They said they were going to do it. They've been dragging their heels.
I have your answer.
Okay.
Generation Z, known as Zoomers, is a demographic cohort succeeding millennials and preceding Generation Alpha.
Oh, okay, after the millennials.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you, this memorial is going to be unveiled in May 2025. Bad news, Britain is preparing to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Rights groups fear that LGBTQ plus migrants will face discrimination and abuse. That's almost a certainty. And they expect these asylum seeker deportations to occur within 10 to 12 weeks. Grindr is facing a UK lawsuit for allegedly releasing HIV information. Wow. Not only people's status, but their recent doctor's visits.
You're kidding.
No. Grindr hasn't responded to a request for comment, but they're saying they didn't do it. We're proud of our global privacy program. But thousands of people, many, many people have brought suit, have signed on to this lawsuit. Puberty blockers. Remember I told you about the CAS report that the UK says you can't have puberty blockers under 18. Well, now Scotland has followed suit, and so has Wales. So people under 18 can't have puberty blockers, and it'll be highly regulated if you have them. Now, I have an interesting story from Monaco, which has rejected the recognition of foreign same-sex marriages. So someone from Monaco and a U.S. citizen got married in Michigan and wanted to have their marriage validated when they moved back to Monaco, and Monaco said no. First, the lower court said yes. It was approved in 2 lower courts, but then the Supreme Court said no. Prominently Catholic country, I didn't know that. Germany has passed really positive transgender legislation. You know, it seems like countries are going in 2 different directions, but they're removing all that, you know, surgery, psychiatrist requirements. So that's a step forward. Sweden has passed a law lowering the age to change legal gender from 18 to 16, but it also has special caveats in place, so it's a little bit 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And finally, Belarus has taken a step backwards. It's adopted a don't say gay law, sort of like Russia.
They're Russian friendly, aren't they?
Yes, they're in the pocket of Russia. So depictions of LGBTQ people may be considered illegal pornography, whether or not sexual acts are depicted. So say if you put a picture of your same-sex lover and your child, you can get up to 4 years in prison or up to 13 years for child pornography. So it's not good in Belarus. It's one of the least free countries in Europe, according to the human rights advocacy group Freedom House. Belarusians, LGBTQ Belarusians lack any protections from discrimination and anti-LGBTQ violence.
And they aren't in the European Union.
I would say not.
Okay.
But I hope, you know, I'll double check.
It would seem unlikely since they're so, but you know.
You never know. Well, I'll double check.
Hungary's in there too.
I should have, you know, I should have anticipated, Linda, but on that note of ambiguity.
Yes, remember to always
resist.